communism.
So it depends on your definition of socialism, because the socialists play a game
Communism.
where there's multiple definitions of socialism used at any given time.
Sure.
So you can pick one or the other based on context.
Rawls was responding to the Marx
Rawls
idea
is a
of the
democratic
flattening
socialist,
yeah.
which is still a meaning of the word socialist.
Sure,
I want to move on to
Okay,
the
sorry.
next big story, but I do want to just conclude by saying I completely agree with Kyla.
Thank
I
you.
think we should exert force over Muslims who refuse to adhere to our traditional
That is
values.
not my position
I have
at
another
all, but I would love to flesh it out with you. But sort of my
What do you
position.
mean?
It's like 50% of my position.
Well, I think that, again, we're going to go on to the next.
Oh, I want to
sorry.
clarify their argument before we move on. This is good.
The point is, when there are people who enter our society who have a religious practice that is an affront to our moral worldview, we will exert force against them to make them stop.
Yes, to an extent.
The thing with
Well, of course, to an extent.
Yeah, that's why I said
Not
50%.
to an extent,
Yeah.
but not to an extent. Like, we will use force up to whatever means or whatever amount of force necessary to get them to stop. So it's not to an extent. It's literally.
when I
No,
say-
no.
no,
She's
no.
saying we'll tolerate some of their religious beliefs.
Like I want religious
Oh,
freedom
all right,
as
okay,
well,
okay,
right? And
right.
so this is like this is what I'm saying. There's this tension all the time between like individual rights of freedom of religion, but also state values of things like we don't mutilate
again,
children.
Sorry to interrupt, but we really do got to
Let
jump.
me ask this
I wanna
question.
stress, I got to
think
stress
Tim
one
is
more
correct,
thing.
but continue.
I got to stress one more thing. This argument still only works so long as you maintain the monopoly on violence. And if
Like
you,
the state.
Yeah.
your
no, I'm just
moral
clarifying.
worldview, not the state. If you, as a society with a moral worldview, have the monopoly on violence, you can stop, say, female genital mutilation.
Sure.
But if there is a new cultural worldview that has emerged, a new moral worldview, let's call it leftist, that tolerates and supports what Muslims are doing, they will take from you your monopoly on violence, and then you get to civil war.
So a lot of leftists get into this weird tension with like Islam because they're very pro-freedom.
I don't want to have an argument about leftists
Sorry.
and Islam. My point was, if you have a monopoly on violence, you can assert your authority. If there are two distinct factions with equal use of force, you get civil war.
I agree with that. The issue is, I guess I'm just correcting the leftist idea that they just want FGM. They don't just want FGM. In fact, they acknowledge
that's the point.
this tension you're outlining exists regardless of the party side that you're pointing to.
My ultimate point, as we move on, again, sorry, is that your principles only apply to the people who agree with you. And that is universal to all moral groups. End of story.
Sure. Yeah, we live in a society. True.
Yes, like you might believe in the right to keep and bear arms, but you're not going to give an Islamic terrorist a gun and be like, you have a right to bear arms.
Sure, it's why I like the liberal principles where we said, well, we should have a couple of basic rules that we all apply to because other things we shouldn't impose on
So
other,
when
like
you
free
have
speech.
two distinct moral worldviews operating in one country, and I would say more than that, you are not going to abide them the same rights as you would someone of your society.
Sure, because I would say free speech is better than compelled or controlled speech, yeah.
Like I would say, if someone is an advocate for the destruction of my country, I will not defend their right to speak.
I
I will not defend their right to
keep
keep and bear arms either.